So first of all, I would like to welcome you all to this event called Build a GitHub Bot by our amazing speaker, Mariatta Vijaya. And this event has been brought to you by the Women Who Code Python track. So once again, thanks everyone for joining us today. I would also like to take this time to thank our speaker for taking out her time and kind of, helping us understand an interesting concept. So I'm sure that everybody's really looking forward to learn more on this concept. So thanks a lot, Marietta, for your time and for your contribution to the community. We really appreciate you, and thanks a ton for doing this today. All right. So, who are we and what do we do? Women Who Code is a global non-profit wherein we are dedicated to inspiring women to excel in technology careers. And we are trying to do that by hosting a lot of events, creating a space for women to network, as well as providing them with tools and techniques which will help them excel in their technology careers, right? Our vision is a world where women are proportionally represented at all levels as executives, founders, VCs, board members, and software engineers, right? At Women Who Code, we are an inclusive community and we follow a very strict code of conduct. We want to give an experience to our audience which is free of bias, and we hope that our audience and we also request you as community members to have an open mind and to have an inclusive mindset. If at any point in time, if you feel like there is something, some incident or event has happened that is violating our code of conduct, please feel free to go to womenwhocode.com/code of conduct and fill out the incident report form, and we will definitely get back to you to resolve this issue on priority. Just want to talk a little bit about the Women Who Code Python track. So at Women Who Code last year, we piloted 6 different technical track communities. And the Python community is one of the technical track communities, which is a deep learning community wherein you learn all things about Python, what can you build using Python, what are the different applications of Python in the industry, right? And of course, as a part of the community, as a part of the track, you'll get access to tech talks, workshops like this, tutorials, live stream events, technical study and project groups, and much more, right? You can join the Python track by creating a profile for yourself on www.womenwhocode.com and then going to womenwhocode.com/Python and clicking on join us, right? So that makes you can become a member of the track. You can also volunteer for the Python track to conduct events. You can become a track lead. You can become a social evangelist if you want to contribute back to the community. And you can join our Slack channel to do that. I'll be dropping in the link for the Slack channel in the chat box really soon. And of course, if you're there on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, please feel free to tag us or post us on any of your interesting work by using at www.python as the tag. All right. Okay. So I also wanted to thank our sponsors. I think I skipped this slide. But thank you so much, Capital One and Home Depot, for sponsoring us and believing in us and kind of making this track happen. And thanks everyone again for joining us today. And now I'm going to stop sharing, stop talking, and let Marietta take over the stage. So the stage is all yours.
All right, thank you so much, Gana. Yeah, my name is Mariatta. Welcome everyone, and thanks for joining. A little bit about myself. I am an engineer. I work at Zapier out of Vancouver, Canada, and Zapier is actually a remote company, so I work from home. And outside of work, I contribute to open source. I am one of the Python core developers, and I also help with PyLadies community. So I help with local Vancouver PyLadies, and I also help with PyLadies globally. And to get in touch with me, I am on Twitter. It's just my, if you look up my Mariatta, that's my handle on Twitter. And I thought I'll start by sharing my screen. This one, number 2. And yeah, I want to talk to you about how you can build your own GitHub bots. And I recommend you using the GitHub library. So first, just a little introduction, like what are GitHub bots? Why do you want one? So GitHub bots are applications that runs automations on GitHub using webhooks and APIs, GitHub's APIs. So here is a quick example of a GitHub bot. This is activities in one pull request. On the left, you see that first one is a Python code developer, that's Yuri.
Hey Mariatta,
Sorry, yes.
sorry to interrupt you. Your screen is looking really small. Is there a way you can enlarge it?
Not sure. It's supposedly the entire. Do you see the entire?
Yeah, we are seeing the entire thing. So the slide is coming like really small. So I can see like half of the page is filled with presenter notes.
Okay, that is not the right screen. Let me see what I need to do. I'm not sure what I should be doing.
Do you want to check? There's a show navigator. Do you want to click on that and see?
Let's see. Okay, 1 second.
Yeah,
Where is?
you had shared with me just before the meeting, right? That was like proper. It was coming like full screen.
Yeah, I did the same thing. So now I'm confused. Let me go back. Yeah. Sorry. So
No problem. Take your time.
yeah. Okay. Do you see the slides now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, even if
And
you want to keep this view, I think it's fine. Like,
this view is fine?
yeah, this view is better. Yes.
All
Yeah.
right. Okay, cool. Yeah, all right. So we are in the GitHub bots and the next screen, is this looking okay?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, okay. So this is what I wanna share. Basically, on the left, you see a Python code developer. All he had to do are two things. Basically, he applied labels and that commands the bot to do a whole bunch of things. Um, so the bot on the right is Miss Islington. That is one of CPython's GitHub bots. It You can see the bot does a whole bunch of things like saying thanks. The bot creates a commit. The bot checks for status to pass, and then it merge the pull request and then delete the branch. Uh, so all of those are automated and done by bots. And as a code developer, all we did is applying label, the important things, commanding the bot and approving and reviewing the content. So we are not stuck on doing, the tedious little routine activities. Those are done, if those can be done by bots, we let the bot do it. And here is another example of a GitHub bot. So blackout is my own personal assistant. It basically, when I apply the blackout label on pull request, it automatically runs black formatter code to the pull request. So I don't even have to run black manually. I don't need to configure pre-commit, just apply a label and it's done automatically. So I hope this gives you some idea of what else you can do with GitHub bots. So how does all of this work? So basically, you can configure webhook events from GitHub. GitHub can send you events. So for example, when there is a pull request that is opened, or when a pull request closed, when there are status changes in the status, and if there is an issue got opened, so GitHub can send you various different webhook events. And to receive those events, you need to have a web service. So you can build your web service with, say, Python or Django or other web framework. But for this example, I will show you how you can do that using aiohttp, which is it's a web framework in Python. It's an async IO web framework. So that's basically the framework that we use for building all of CPython's GitHub bots. So webhooks is just one way for you to receive events from GitHub, but you want to react to those events. And to do that, you can make APIs. You can make API calls, and there are lots of API calls available. So you can call the API to create pull requests, merge pull requests, leave a comment. There are lots of examples, and I've provided a full link there to you to see all the complete listing of the APIs. And so now let me talk a little bit about github. So github is an async Python library for working with GitHub APIs, and it works on starting from Python 3.6 because we need the async IO library. And you can actually use github with several web frameworks, aiohttp, Tornado, and HTTPX. All of these are async IO libraries. So like you cannot use something like Flask or Django because those are not async IO. So it's just not compatible with GitHub. And GitHub is completely open source with Apache 2.0 license. And I am actually one of the maintainers, and it was initially created by Brad Cannon, who is also another Python code developer also in Vancouver area. So yeah, so here is some example of a comparison of how you would make REST API calls to GitHub APIs. On the left is the example of how you do this with request library. So with request library, first you need to construct certain request headers that are required by GitHub. GitHub expects certain fields in the request headers, like you need to specify the user agent, you need to pass in the token, and specify, you need the accept header. And then when you make the API call to it, you could totally use like request.get and to the API endpoint. So that's how you would do this in the request library. And on the right is the example of using github and aiohttp. So github abstracts out the little details of the creating the request headers, how to pass the tokens. So if you notice on the right, sorry, like you pass in the token to the GitHub API constructor, and then from then on, all API calls to GitHub will be using that token. And if you notice that when we call the GitHub API endpoint on the right, you don't need to pass in the HTTPS api.github.com. That's already taken care of internally by GitHub. So you just need to specify, the API endpoint URL. So like repo/user/repo name. So that's the benefit of why I encourage you to use GitHub instead of something like request library. GitHub also provides the routings for handling the webhook events from GitHub. So basically, so here is a code example of how you would handle the pull request opens event. So the first two lines, the router.register decorator, these two lines basically tells it, say, whenever we receive the pull request, open and reopen events webhooks from GitHub, do these things. And this is basically the code to like automatically close any incoming pull requests in case that's something you want. Like if you're not accepting any PRs, but you want to have a repo online, this is like 5 lines of code to automatically close pull requests. And as well as it also takes care of verifying the webhook secret, because when you have a web service that accepts events, you're allowing people to make post requests to your web service. You need to secure it. You don't want to handle random webhook events from other parties. You just want to handle the event from GitHub. So that's why you need to check that the secret that is provided in the header matches the one you have configured, and it's all already done internally. You don't have to do the checking yourself. And starting in GitHub version 4.1, there is support for building GitHub apps. So GitHub apps is basically when you see, in my earlier example, blackout here, it has a little bot like indicator on the user. So this is basically a GitHub app. So it's a little bit different than using personal access tokens. So with GitHub apps, oops, where am I? So that support is something new in GitHub version 4.1. So we introduced the getJWT function that can be used for creating the access tokens. And the other feature that is specific to GitHub apps is getting installation access token. So this is built in now in GitHub. It allows you to identify like the user associated with the, like who installed this app in your repo. And if you're interested in building GitHub actions, there are support for that as well. You can use GitHub actions. There are several functionalities here that has been built in, and this is available in GitHub starting 4.0. Now, I have a very thorough tutorial on how to build GitHub apps from nothing to a working complete example, but that tutorial takes about 2.5 hours, which I don't have time here. So I thought I shared some concepts about the GitHub bots, and if you follow the link GitHub-app-tutorial, you can follow along with that. To that, I can open up that link. Let's see. But I can show you a quick demo of how you can create and set up a GitHub app here, but I will not go like step by step. So let's see. So this is the tutorial that I provided earlier. As I just quickly show you like what do you need to set up. A little bit of explanation, which I have gone through earlier, and some more examples about GitHub. But I think let's go straight to like how you would go about building a GitHub app. Like what are the different steps, like other than writing the code. So basically, first, if you go to GitHub, log into GitHub, and I will try to make this bigger. Okay, I hope this is big enough. So if you go to GitHub, go to your settings and go to developer settings. And I explained this in my tutorial as well, so don't worry if you missed that. So you can just easily create a new GitHub app here and provide the necessary information. Again, I don't have a lot of time available in this webinar, so I have already created a GitHub app myself. So some informations that you will need out of this is the GitHub app ID, and when you need to specify where you want to receive that webhook event from GitHub. And so this is basically when you have your code that handles all those webhooks, you need to deploy it to somewhere, and then you will put that URL here. And other things that you will need to set up is you want to specify which webhook events you want to receive. So if your bot is going to deal with, say, managing issues or pull requests, like you want to be able to close or comment on issues and pull requests, you need to grant, you need to request those access, like read and write access to issues, read and write access to the pull request in your repo. And then you, further down, this is where you can say, I want to subscribe to specific events. Say if you want to get an event whenever, somebody leave a comment on your issues, you want to receive all the issue related events, any pull related events, so just check those, so you will receive them. What else? And you can install the app. So when you create the GitHub app, basically you can go to that page and then you can choose where you want to install this. So like choose a repo where you want it to be. And then, so that's the GitHub app setup. And then I thought I'll show you the example of where I had set up that that GitHub. So I have actually installed it in this repo. I use this repo for testing my bots. There are some examples here where the bot has, so here is an example of the bot that automatically like say thanks when they open the pull request, when it got installed. Yeah, I can also show how I set it up in Heroku basically. So I deployed my bots to Heroku, and you notice I have lots of bots here. So when you deploy the Heroku, you will commit your code to GitHub, your bot code to GitHub, and then you can configure it to be automatically deployed to Heroku whenever there is a new commit. So I have linked this to my GitHub app boilerplate repository. And let's see, I won't go through the secrets here, but yeah, that's the only setup that I have, like automatically deploy my bot code base. And I can now show the sample code. This is the GitHub app boilerplate. This is what's connected to my Heroku. In this, so the let's start from the beginning. If you go to the web service, and there's just one file there, main.py, so it's straightforward. Here is an example of how you would start receive webhook events from GitHub. Basically, I've provided this sample code for you. Like, I think you don't need to change much here. This is where I say I have the / webhook route, and then that's where I wanna receive the webhook events. And in here, I instantiated the GitHub API. I pass in the GitHub Apps secret that I set up in the GitHub App settings earlier. So this is what github will use to make sure that any incoming webhooks are verified and matching. And I have created a sample event handler down here, line 49. This is basically the logic of what to do when somebody install my GitHub app. And there's nothing much here. And if you follow through the tutorial, I provide more explanation, like what to do. This is a way for me to give you that practice so you can try it yourself. But since again we're out of time, I have a cheat. I have the actual code in a different branch, basically. So so this is the actual logic. This is the same event from before, installation created event, where once we receive the installation ID, we will obtain the installation access token, and then we will go through all the repositories where this GitHub app was installed, and then make a post request that says, basically creating an issue saying, thanks for installing me. And we construct the repository name out of the webhook events. And this is the code that actually does that issue that I have shown you earlier, that where the bot says, thanks for installing me. This is the complete code. There's not a lot of code there. So yeah, I think that's all the presentation I got. And I thought, again, I think somebody has posted the full link to do the tutorial. Yeah, unfortunately, it's not a lot of time for me to really show you. So if you follow that, that will be, that should help you more. Cool. Yeah, I think I can answer some questions.
Thanks, Mariatta.
Yeah.
There were some questions around posting the links that you were sharing on the screen. So the GitHub related links, if you could just post them on the chat, it would be helpful.
Yeah, I think somebody have shared, but this is, whoops. Hold on 1 second. So here is the link to my tutorial. So there. Okay, I can go through the questions in the Q&A. So Ella, sorry if I mispronounce Eli, Jamali asked, how can I get the link to the GitHub? I have shared it in the chat. I'm not sure if everybody see it. So GitHub app tutorial. So I think.
Oh, yes.
That...
Let me copy paste and share it again. I've already shared it with the attendees, but I'm just resharing the link that you've sent. So
okay,
everybody should be able to see it now.
All right. The next question is from Jan Blank. You said it will take 2.5 hours to go through the tutorial. Was it a workshop at PyCon 2020? Yes, I prepared this tutorial for PyCon 2020, which takes like, they have 3 hours worth of tutorial time. So I actually have a recording of this tutorial. I will, if you look through PyCon 2020's YouTube channel, there is one of the videos there is my tutorial, and I took the time is like 2.5 hours. So yeah. The next question from Pooja Gadij: why is an asynchronous web framework used to build a GitHub bot using GitHub? This was a choice made by Brad Cannon, who was building the original CPython GitHub bots. I actually think the asynchronous way is faster, so that's why. Yeah, it was this, I think it was his choice, but again, I personally think it's faster. You can process multiple requests, incoming requests quickly, and then you can quickly respond to GitHub. So that's the reason. However, you can totally build this using other framework, but you will not be able to use GitHub library because GitHub uses all of the async IO, like async, all the awaits. So I thought I also mentioned that if you are using GitLab instead of GitHub, you want some automation on GitLab. So there is a GitLab library. So what happened was, when I gave this tutorial a couple years ago at PyCon, an earlier version of the tutorial, one of the attendee attended the tutorial and thought it was great. And then he wrote a version for GitLab because he was working with GitLab. So he used the same concept from GitHub to GitLab. So you can look into that. Yeah, anything else? That's all. I hope this was useful. I know, sorry for the short time. I could not go through everything there is for building. So
Thank you so much, Mariatta. I think it was awesome. So I also learned something, and I'm probably going to go and explore your source code and see how I can build a GitHub bot. So yeah, thanks everyone, and thanks for joining us today. So thank you for being such a wonderful audience. We had an overwhelming response with respect to the registrations, and I'm sure a lot of folks would also love to watch the recording. And thank you, Marietta, for this amazing workshop. You're awesome. Stay awesome. And of course, you're connected with the community. If anybody has any other questions, you can also like ping Marietta over Slack. She's already present in our Women Who Code Python Slack, and I've already sent the link to join the Slack as well in the chat. So if you're experimenting, building something, and that's what we highly encourage, do tag us, like post a picture of what you're doing, build some cool bots, and definitely let us know what you learned. Yep. Okay. Tons of thank you coming up to you, Marietta.
awesome.
So
Thank you so much. Yeah, I am indeed in Slack, and otherwise you can also find me on Twitter, or my email address is mariatta@python.org. I will share my slides to Slack later after this. Don't worry.
awesome.
I thought I saw a few other Q&A. Is that, should I
Question.
still?
Yeah, there were two more questions that came in. Maybe you want to take a look.
I can answer. Yes. Okay, you have, okay, Pooja Gadij. Again, sorry if I mispronounce. Is the tutorial open source with a license that can be used to reproduce it as a workshop in a PyLadies event? My tutorial is if my tutorial has a license associated with it. I think it is a Creative Commons version 4, and I think it means you can reproduce with attribution. If you do give this tutorial, please let me know just so I'm aware of it. Yeah, I think that answers that. There's another question, Jan Blank. Quickly, can you give us examples of other bots you've done? Sure, I can. Let me see. I have a few other bots other than Blackout. Let me try to share. Cool. So I've been helping the Python community working with several other bots. So as I showed earlier, so Miss Islington, this is the code base for Miss Islington. I'll go to CPython and I'll show you all the bots that we have working there. All right, let's see. So in this pull request, we have already 2 bots working. The Knights Husseini, I also help with maintaining this. It just checks if the person has signed the CLA or not. So it applies the either CLA signed or CLA not signed label. The other bot here is Build-a-GitHub bot, and it also applies labels based on the pull requests stages. So when a PR is first created, it will have the awaiting review label. And if somebody comes in and review the PR, it will now have a waiting core review label. That means now it's waiting review from a core developer. If a core developer has approved the PR, it will then become an awaiting merge label, meaning it is now ready to be merged. So that's another bot. The other bot that I also built is this little thing that called Blurbit. Basically, so the Blurbit, it lets you add, so committed by Blurb, it allows you to add a news file to your CPython GitHub, CPython pull request. It is basically a web form. Blurbit, not demo, Blurbit, Roku. So this is another bot. This is basically a web version of a command line called blurb. So we call it Blurbit. You log in with GitHub, and then you specify the ticket number, GitHub PR number, choose a type, and type in your news entry, and then that's how it will appear, automatically be added to the pull request. So it makes a commit to your PR. Yeah, I hope it helps. Yeah, anything else?
Awesome. Are there any other questions? And yeah, I don't see any more.
Let me stop sharing.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us again. And thanks again, Mariatta, for your time and for your commitment to the community. And we'll see you soon on Slack.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a great day or have a good night from wherever you're joining us. And stay safe.